Hello, everybody. Tim Hughes here. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite. Today, I've got Meagan Davis, and we're going to be talking about how to accomplish things you never would have fathomed. Can you hear a
Yeah.
buzzing?
I can't on my end, no.
It seems to have stopped.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to talk about how to accomplish things. Now, you are a very rare person. I was looking through my podcasts this week because someone asked me, so when did you start? And I haven't realized. And it was way back in 2016. But you've been on here before, haven't you?
I have. It was probably around 2016. I was doing business development and just really getting started in my career and came on, and I think we talked about social selling.
Something like that. I think I was doing social selling that way in the early days. I was interviewing people about sales and stuff. So welcome back, Meagan. And where can people find you?
Yeah, so thanks for having me back. I must have done something right or not too much wrong the first time. And people can find me on LinkedIn. I think that's the best way. My name is Meagan Davis, and I'm Director of Sales Enablement at Hunters.
Fantastic. And what I'm really interested in is is the journey that you've been on, and how you realized that you could actually do something, and you could be an amazing person, and be the best person you can be. So one of the things that you did to get to where you are is you ran a marathon.
Yeah, I ran my first marathon this past September.
Wow. I've been running. I started running in 2020, and I decided that I would just do 5K. And I did that for 18 months. And I decided, because a lot of people come on and say, I'm going to, well, don't come on here, but people think I'm going to run a marathon. And I've never said that. I always said, I'm just going to run 5K, and I'm not going to try and be the fastest. I'm not going to try and be I'm not going to try and run a marathon or anything like. I'm just gonna get some trainers on. I'm just going to run. But you actually worked out that you were going to do a marathon. And why did you run a marathon? To improve your performance in business?
Yeah, so and I'll add, I've always been a runner, so it's something that's kind of natural to me.
I always used to hate it, and now I am a runner. I am, which is part of my transformation. Is that I am a runner.
I love that. See, that for me, that would be like swimming. Swimming is like I am a fish out of water, literally. So maybe don't quote me, but that would be my challenge. Um, but to answer your question, I ran a marathon, and it was with kind of what other benefits it would have to me in business beyond just the physical and kind of the challenge of committing to a marathon. And I think it was Marshall Goldsmith, if I'm getting that right, that said, "What won't get you here, or sorry, what got you here won't get you there."
Yeah.
Right. So it was kind of this cross training, if you will, that I took on to help propel my business career. And I talked about this a lot at Sales 3.0 last year, the parallels between running a marathon and improving your performance in sales, and talked about things like making the jump from just doing prospecting or opportunity creation to owning the full deal cycle. And different examples, like going from commercial to enterprise accounts, right? There are a lot of parallels between how to kind of push yourself further in sales. And for me, I think it goes back to the mindset, and that's why it's so applicable. This physical activity to what you do in business, and it's kind of this marathon mindset, right? It's this voice in your head that's telling you you can go further than you think, and I think it's applicable in so many different areas of professional development.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I mean, I've never trained for a marathon. I've never run one, but um, it's about understanding the to do it. You need to do it. You need to do certain things. It's a process. And you know that you need to eat well, you need to sleep, you need to train, you need to rest and things like that, and all of those things have to come together as part of the process. What When you talk about running a marathon, how do you think that that's actually improved your skills as a sales enablement leader?
Yeah, so and I think you hit on part of it there. It's more than just the event, right? It's kind of the what encompasses getting there. And the full cycle. So actually, I think what helped me most in sales enablement about running a marathon was after. Like, so after I'd finished the marathon, I stopped, I rested, I did not run for probably 2 months, right? Like, I took a big break. Um, but because I'd been training up to that for, I think it was an 18 week program, I found myself with this extra 5 to 6 hours a week that I
Of
was
course.
previously spending running. So I think that's when things clicked for me. Just taking that time and having the clarity to kind of notice that, the past 5 years, I'd really accumulated a lot of knowledge from experience about how to start a sales enablement program. And it was all kind of just bouncing around in my head. I hadn't really codified it or shared it anywhere. So that was to go back to your question, that was my first realization was that I had this knowledge that I could codify and share. And then the second, it by completing the marathon, it made me realize that I had the discipline to, like you say, make a plan, right? Follow it and apply that. And how I applied that was in writing a book about sales enablement. So I committed to writing like a certain number of words per week. Uh, every Sunday, I would just sit down and write and finish the manuscript for that. And then the last way, third thing it really made me realize in terms of sales enablement was that there is this huge opportunity, right? I think like the sixth fastest growing open position on LinkedIn is like a sales enablement specialist. So I had this opportunity to kind of help a lot of people who are moving into sales enablement roles for the first time just by sharing what I learned.
Yeah, and I think that the writing it down probably helped you get it straight in your head. It's a bit like the recommendation to do journaling and sit down at the beginning of the day and write things just to clear the head or get it straight. And I think that's probably that sitting down on a Sunday. I must admit, I've written all my books by actually sitting down on a Sunday. My partner goes out and does stuff, and I just sit down and I have to focus, and that's when I do my writing. Uh,
Nice.
and I do it I do it in silence as well, which is strange because when I was a student, I always used to have to have music on. Just shows what happens when you get a bit older. But yeah, sitting down and writing probably helped you as well. Um, so in terms of what did you take us through what you've written and why you've written it.
Yeah, so I wrote a book. Manuscript is done right now, and it's called "How to Start a Sales Enablement Program," and it's really a practitioner's guide. So I wrote based on my experience, right? So I'm not talking about like the strategy or executive leadership components of it. I'm really talking about from day one, right? The skills, programs, and kind of things that you need to do to successfully start a sales enablement program. And my goal in doing this, a couple of things made me realize that maybe it is a good time for me to write a book, despite all my internal critics saying, all the things that no one will read it, you don't know enough, all the things you work through. But I have taken a ton of calls with people who are starting in their first sales enablement roles, or they're curious about what it is and how I get started in it. I try to take calls every Friday and just 30 minutes talk to people about it. And then I'm also getting a ton of, or I used to get a ton of LinkedIn recruiter requests about open sales enablement opportunities. Um, so I decided to connect the two, right? And write a book that would help people who are just getting started and hopefully find success in a lot of those roles that are now open.
I think that's really great. I'm just going to answer Cups's question, which is to say, if anybody's ever watching this, you can watch it again on LinkedIn when we do it live. I think it always streams there and stays there. The other thing is I take the recording and I put it on YouTube, but Cups, I will send you a link to it anyway. So back to the discussion, Meagan. Yeah, I think it's I think it's really great of you to actually say, what I want to do is take this knowledge and share it with people, because in a way, to use another running metaphor, you're passing the baton on to other people. And I think, we live in a world where all of us, whenever we do something, we can sit there and go, surely someone's done this before. Why am I having to recreate this from scratch? And what you're doing is that you're writing stuff and saying, well, this is my experience. Why not take it? You could leave it if you want to, but why not take it? Because it's for, here we go. Here's my experience. And I have to admit, when I wrote my first book, I had terrible. I think because I had a deadline. I had to write it in 3 months, which meant I had to take all of the stuff, I shouldn't really be doing this, and kind of put it down over here, and then get on with writing it. And then when I wrote it, I suddenly went, ah! And then of course, what happens is your network supports you. We see a lot on the press about social media is bad and this is bad about social media, but actually, especially something like LinkedIn is actually a really nice place, because your network supports you. If you publish a book, you're coming back on here because I'm inviting you. You can come back on for a third time and talk. And that's what happens. Your network says, brilliant. What a fantastic thing to do, Meagan. Well done.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. I'll definitely take you up on the invite. And, I had similar trepidation, right? When I was first writing it, it was almost like stream of consciousness. I just had to start writing, get something out, and thank goodness I didn't publish that version, because after I read through it, it's very rough, right? But then you go through and you polish. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the response, and the manuscript is done. I'm kind of sorting out which publishing route to go down. So the date where it will actually be published kind of depends on which route I go down there. But that being said, I do want to, if anyone's interested that's listening now or here's the recording, I'd like to make select chapters available to people who it would benefit now. So each chapter is on a sales enablement program or concept, right? So if you're working on something like starting an onboarding program or ongoing education, etc., reach out to me on LinkedIn and let me know kind of what you're interested in. I'd love to share a chapter, get your feedback, and I think in the future keep continuing the content in the book as well.
I whenever people contact me about my books, I always ask for feedback, and I'm always interested in what people have got to say. And I don't mind if people say, "Well, I didn't like this" or "I didn't like that," because that's useful. It's really useful to understand that, because it's very easy to sit back and go, "Yeah, I finished that. I've done my book now." But what we're looking for, in effect, is blind spots. Is there something I've not seen? And it's like, what about this? What about that? I never thought about that.
Yeah.
So absolutely. And I mean, there's lots of people out there from a self-publishing perspective. I know people who do self-publishing, and there must be people that watch this or know people that, because there's a lot of books out there, and there's a lot of people that can support it, especially around promoting it and stuff like that. So that's fantastic. So when do you expect it to be available?
Yeah, so good question. Like I said, it's the manuscript, is completely ready. It is the decision to like self-publish, which would make it available in, 48 hours or something, or go with a publisher that I'm talking with, and I think they'd have a longer process. So very soon, I think within the next few months, if I had to guess, but I'll definitely share with you let everyone know on LinkedIn when it's available.
I'd love to find out how it's going, and please, if you publish, come back, because I'd love to hear about it and help you promote it. And I think
Absolutely.
it's great that what you've done is that you decided, I'm going to accomplish something, and you set yourself a big target, and then what you've done is that you've completed it. Because I know for a start that, well, I would never have finished my book, because I'd signed a contract and I had a deadline, and it was and it was scary, and it was even more scary the first two books I did, because I had co-authors, and I'm a person that basically, I've signed the contract and I write all my stuff, it's done. But the other people decided to leave it right to the last moment. So we've got this tension
Oh
going on
no.
between me, who's somebody that likes to write it and get it done, and the other people that are going, so have you? And I'm going like, have you done your bit? Oh no, I haven't done it yet. So, well, we've only got 2 weeks before we hand it in. Well, it's easy. It's like, and I'm sitting, I'm going, ah.
Yeah, that's making me nervous just hearing it. I'm definitely a planner as this. I think I've said plan like 5 times on this podcast, but yeah, that would be quite nerve-wracking. And I think, to your point about signing the contract, though, I think for me, talking about it, right? So saying here, I wrote a book, and saying on to other friends and kind of mentors, that's also a way I hold myself accountable, because there's no way I could do this just in a vacuum, and without support from mentors and other people like yourself to keep kind of moving the publication process forward.
Well, I mean, coming on here puts you under pressure, doesn't it? Because you're saying publicly that you're doing it, but why a book?
Yeah, good question. So very on brand for me to start. I try to read as much as I can, audiobooks or actual physical books, just something I enjoy. And I also think that, in my day job working in sales enablement, there's a lot of, how do we take this big concept or this new feature product update, train about it really quickly, because the sales team has minimal time to learn with, and make it available. And I think another element is we have this, we hear all the time about how attention spans are getting shorter,
Mm.
and a lot of the platforms and content is really catering to that, right? So we have TikTok and all these very short and sweet content pieces. um, I took the opposite approach. I think that in order to really learn something deeply, and understand it, it takes mental endurance. And I think, you should challenge yourself to read a book and really learn a lot about something. So that's the book. I think I could have served it up in more bite-sized ways, of course, but I think I hope people will actually challenge themselves to read books and to learn more.
Mm. And so going back to the title of the podcast, which is how to accomplish things you never fathomed. So you never fathomed that you would run a marathon or you would write a book. So how did you do that? What things can you share with the audience to so they can follow? They might not be writing a book or running a marathon, but if they want to achieve things.
Yeah, so I'll boil it down to 3, or I could ramble on about it. So I think the first one, like I alluded to earlier, was to slow down. Whatever you're doing, take time to really stop and think about it. Let ideas come to you and envision and plan for the future. I think just allowing yourself that time and space is huge.
Yeah.
The second point, or second way, I think, is choosing and committing to a challenge goal for yourself. So for me, that was running a marathon, writing a book, but something that you're passionate about. Maybe it's a hobby from childhood, right? That you want to pick back up in your adult life, or, volunteering, something that really resonates with you and makes you feel good. But challenge yourself to do more, or do something new. And then the third and final key is really being aware of all the little mental breakthroughs that you're having as you're accomplishing this challenge activity. Like, for example, when I ran 1 mile longer each week in training, right? It kind of like unlocks these new little breakthroughs that you can apply in your professional life, or other places. So I think those are my three keys. And once you do have these breakthroughs, don't let them just sit there. Make sure you're really taking these new ideas, these new breakthroughs, and going out and applying them to business or to life.
Yeah, I know in my own running, I went from 5K, and then all of a sudden I needed to do, and it went to 5.5K, and then it went to 6, and now it's at 7.5. And I look at that and go, I could do 8. But I look back at the 5, and I did 5K for 18 months, because that was the agreement I made with myself, was just to do it and be repetitive. But the journey that's been on, and now, and I can see that it was interesting moving to 7. Actually, I didn't seem to lose a lot of weight doing 5, but moving to 7, I've lost more weight, and that's really great. It's been and you
Interesting.
look
Yeah.
at those things and you go, that's an achievement. So I'm just agreeing with you on that.
Absolutely. No, I think it's cool, right? When you kind of build a wall for yourself at like your flat 5 kilometers, right? You keep doing it and you keep building this wall. And then once you kind of get past that, it's like for me, it was every step, like every step past my last weekly mile. I was like, wow, this is the first time I've run this far ever. And it kind of, it unlocks things for you. So
It does.
yeah.
It does. Meagan, thank you so much for coming on today. Remind people where they can get hold of you.
Yeah. So best way to get a hold of me now is just on LinkedIn. My name's Meagan Davis. I'm Director of Sales Enablement at Hunters. So you should be able to find me through that.
And it's Davis as in Davis, isn't it?
Correct. Yep.
Not Davies.
Yes. Yeah. Just no E. And
No E, yes.
Meagan has an extra A. So it's Meagan.
Yes. Yes, it does. I noticed that actually when I was doing the form about a week ago. I thought. Anyway, thank you so much for coming on and sharing that with us. It's an amazing journey, and I think something that we can all take from that and learn from that. So thank you. And as I say, when you get the book out, you can come back.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for having me, and I'll definitely come back when it's published.
Okay. Thank you so much.